me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact, shattered.
The missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and but the mother went for a wall, came home, now they can't find her.
Chad, where are Lori's kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Once I told a lie, and I told my family, I had to keep lying.
McSherman is a demon.
We haven't cleared anybody.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here for another ATS News live stream. So we kind of came up with this crazy idea to do some trial rewatching on Saturday nights as sort of a way to decompress from the heavy true crime talks that we do on Friday night, which have been the Idaho 4 case, and on Sunday night, which is usually our Chris Watts live stream. So this is sort of just like a hangout, Saturday night, chill vibe. Hit the like button. We are going to be discussing the updates in the Lauren Matthias hidden true crime saga, the stalker situation. There's been an interesting development that happened this week, so we'll get into that. And then we're going to tie in the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard trial because a lot of people were sort of comparing Lauren to Amber Heard. Hey, Johnny. Hey, Creative Minds. Denise. Dustin, I hope your son has a good birthday. Thanks for popping in. So anyway, so we're going to kind of be re-looking at the Johnny Depp trial and Amber Heard and intertwine the 9-hour live stream from Hidden True Crime. It's going to be very like sporadic and random, but we're going to watch it and the 9-hour live stream. Oddly enough, there has been rumors that there possibly might be a civil case against Hidden True Crime from her respondent, the alleged stalker, Christina. Again, that's just rumor. And I'll explain why that is being talked about. So let me share my screen and get into this whole explanation and live chat. Like I said, this is just kind of going to be our Saturday night hangout. So this channel, I liked the stream, Excited Utterance. They have brought this new information to light that has happened this week, and I will explain all about it. So this is actually an email. Apparently, there are some people who are just filling out Freedom of Information Acts pertaining to the CrimeCon drama that occurred. Like they're asking for, emails. They're asking for scanner audio. They're asking for like everything basically related to the cops being called at CrimeCon for Lauren from Hidden True Crime to deal with her temporary protective order against Christina, who she came out in her 6-hour live stream claiming was her stalker. So there's been this whole drama behind it. A lot of people don't believe Lauren, so that's where the whole Amber Heard comparison came in. And now there's just a lot of rumors of perhaps Christina was actually also building her case against Lauren. Because you have to remember, in the 9-hour live streams, not even including, her Patreon and her visits through other channels, like she over and over repeatedly called Christina her stalker. And this was after she ended her court proceedings to, give the courts the chance to label this woman the stalker, like you allege. So that's kind of the gist of everything going on right now with that. And then this new information came out that this came to light with the FOIAs that people have been requesting. And this is an email. So a couple of months ago, Lauren on Hidden True Crime was researching a case that took place in Colorado. So we all know that CrimeCon was in Colorado. That's where all this drama happened. The Aurora Police Department are the ones that responded, and we watched the body cam and we broke down everything that took place in the evidence that was presented to us, like with Sleuthy Goosey's files. And hey, Adrian, good to see you. And so we, and in that body cam, as you guys remember, one of the officers told Christina that she can be in the hotel and she can be in the bars and restaurants at the hotel. And so if anyone's never been to a Gaylord hotel, which is where this whole venue was, they're massive. They're absolutely massive. Like there would have been no problem for Christina and Lauren to be in the same area and still be 500 feet apart. Like it would have been possible. Like that's why they told her, like, you can be in the bar and you can be in the hotel, like, and then this whole incident happens where Christina and her girlfriends were at a bar, and Lauren and her girlfriends apparently show up and call the cops, and Christina gets escorted out and told that she has to leave and like leave CrimeCon after like another officer that like served her the papers and stuff in person said that she was okay to be in the bar and stuff. So there's this whole search of, what else is going on, like in regards to the police department, because we knew that she had emailed the police before getting to CrimeCon. So this whole thing took place right before the weekend. So Christina gets this TPO placed on her right before the weekend, right before CrimeCon, having planned this trip for months and months, well before Lauren ever decided to go. Right before Lauren decides to go, she gets the TPO placed on Christina and then shows up at CrimeCon where Christina, her alleged stalker, is. And in some of the information that came out on this case that Lauren from Hidden True Crime was researching months ago, she kind of befriended or just became associated with a detective on the case that she was working. Again, I can't remember the name of the case, but the point is, a couple months ago, Lauren made this connection with this detective who is sending this email out to all her colleagues at the Aurora Police Department, and actually CC'd Hidden True Crime as well. And so we can only wonder what the email was between Lauren and this Billy Joe woman. It's very interesting because of the words that this detective uses to her colleagues. Like it makes her really wonder, like, what was being fed to her as what was going on. So she says, "Hello, worker bees. A true crime podcast host, Lauren Matthias, and her producer, Grayson, will be attending CrimeCon September 5th through the 7th and staying at the Gaylord Hotel. Lauren has been experiencing threats from a former fangirl who has also stalked her repeatedly at court appearances and events like CrimeCon. A Utah judge issued a non-contact order today, September 4th, against," and then it has her name redacted, "prohibiting her from contacting Lauren, her family, and her list of 2025 CrimeCon Expo Denver, Colorado schedule September 5th to the 7th. This order is a direct response to a potential risk at CrimeCon." Christina spoke with it's redacted. So spoke with a producer from another network and confirmed she was attending. So I'm assuming they know that Christina has confirmed she'll be there. Utah officers attempted to serve Christina this morning, but were informed by her husband that she had already left for her flight in Denver. It would be fair to say Christina should have knowledge of the court order, but has not been served personally. I have attached the court order that Christina needs to be served with if she attends CrimeCon. Per the order, Christina is not allowed to attend CrimeCon. Lauren informed me she would have a printed copy with her in case an officer did not have one. Going through her social media pages, I would classify Christina as an agitator. She has posted several videos documenting her interactions with law enforcement. I have attached photos of Christina below. Some of her social media pages and name of some of her acquaintances also. Lauren will be walking around the ballroom and speaking with at various times throughout the conference. Currently, Lauren and Grayson will be involved in the following scheduled events. And then it lists their schedules for the 2 days. Lauren and Grayson have real safety concerns regarding Christina and her friends due to the threats that have been directed towards Lauren. Lauren and Grayson are huge supporters of law enforcement. During your travels while working off duty at the Gaylord this weekend, can you please take note of Christina and serve her with the court order if she attempts to gain entry? Lauren and Grayson would also appreciate it if you could attend their known appearances noted at the above times. Below are Lauren and Grayson's cell phone numbers. If a safety concern arises, please reach out to them. Thank you all, and let me know if you have any questions. Bobby Olson, Detective of Major Crimes Homicide Unit, Police, City of Aurora, Colorado. Like, what? Let's reverse and go back and see what exactly is absurd about this whole thing. It makes me wonder because right in the first paragraph it says, Lauren has been experiencing threats from a former fangirl who has also stalked her repeatedly at court appearances and events like CrimeCon. Queen Olive, it's crazy. Let's see what some of these comments on this video are saying. And then we have, oh, thank you for becoming a member, the boss lady. We have a, whatchamacallit, videos from Christina's. So you guys know what Meta glasses are. They're basically these new types of glasses. Ray-Ban particularly, I know, has a pair that they sell and it has a camera in it. So we have Christina's videos. So we're about to take a look. After rereading the email that homicide detective Bobby O wrote, Detective Olson made several exaggerated, misleading, and outright false claims in her email. In her official capacity, a law enforcement officer cannot misuse their resources like that. It's illegal. It's also a huge policy violation. A former complaint, if filed properly, could get her in a lot of trouble. To so many victims of abuse, a RO is just a piece of paper that doesn't offer much protection. But for the rich white ladies with a big YouTube following, it becomes an official police security detail. Wow. Lauren is not living in fear of Christina. She is a Karen that wanted her own way. She used her connections to get the police to be her puppets. Do you think that's a shocker for police to do? Lauren is a drama queen. Watch her facial expressions when she talks about it. She's so dramatic. It's gross and wrong. Somebody should be in trouble for using police resources. A homicide detective contacting the police department for her, that's wrong. She should have asked someone what it's really like to live in fear of a stalker. Sickening. And we're going to watch this video, but this person says, hearing Christina break down not only breaks my heart, but it also has me fuming. As Christina states, it's obvious who the actual stalker is, and it's not Christina. So in these videos that were taken from Christina's camera on her glasses, like, you'll literally see that she was at this bar and restaurant just minding her own business, and Grayson and Lauren were the ones that scoped them out and showed up on them. I don't believe Lauren when she says she was in physical danger. I think she is scared because her reputation is in danger. She knows the right words to use, even in her videos of them attacking her. She knows what she is saying to get things to swing her way. And now she's throwing a tantrum because it didn't work. This is what happens when you throw a fit in the front of the logical adults, not your minions or gems, as you call them. So yeah, we'll take a look at this. But yeah, this is from a detective that she had like an episode of her podcast on, like made the connection through her YouTube of researching the case that this detective was working on, reaches out to this detective, and who knows what storyline was fed to her. Obviously, they used the same words that they tried to use with us in the 3.5 hour and 9 hour stream, where they were reiterating over and over that, you know, they're afraid for their life. They feel safer behind a paywall. Just basically everything that we should be questioning about what they're saying. Like everyone sees through it, just like they did with Amber Heard during the trial, and just like the jury did. Now, it will be interesting also, not only because people have compared Lauren to Amber Heard through her 9.5 hour stream, but if this turns into a civil matter, like with Christina suing for defamation, again, this is just rumors. Nothing has been confirmed as far as that. But if this turns into that, then it'd be interesting to go through this trial also to kind of brush up on studying a civil case, specifically defamation, right? Because Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. And if that's what this all turns into, it'll be interesting. Hey, Jen, good to see you. Oh, thank you so much. All right. So, yeah, we'll get into it. This is a video from Christina's glasses. Jay has put this out, as well as that other channel that I was showing you guys. So credit where credit is due, and we're going to break it down as well. So this is the bar. Again, she was told in the body cam when she was served the TPO that she was allowed in the bar and in the hotel still.
So I'm aware of just a little bit of what's going on.
Yeah.
But enough I'm letting you know that they're coming down here.
But I was here first.
That doesn't matter.
But they don't do that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Not in the state of Colorado. Okay. You are the restrained party.
Okay, but question. I'm not. I'm just. Hold on.
Sure.
I
want to educate you.
Thank you.
Really
Yeah. No, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna listen for sure. Like I just guess. Hold on. Can I breathe for a sec? Hold on.
Please do. Please do. And I know you traveled out here and stuff like that, and this probably wasn't what you were expecting. So I'm trying to be reasonable, professional, polite.
So she, I don't even know how to phrase what I'm thinking. So I guess I need a second. So me being here for the past 2 hours doesn't matter if she wants to come down here.
Because you're the restrained party in the state of Colorado.
And remember, the body cam, when she served the papers, the officer says you can be in the hotel and you can be in the bar. And also remember the order that everything took place. She buys her ticket months in advance. Lauren said she wasn't going to go. Lauren buys the ticket. Lauren puts the TPO on her right before the weekend starts, when obviously, the courts are closed and CrimeCon has taken place. Christina gets there before Lauren, and Lauren still finds a way to, go down to the bar area that Christina and her friends are at. And they knew where they were, absolutely knew where they were. And then they get her escorted out and kicked out.
And I know that's Not what
You know, how do I, like, what do I do? This is, hold on. I think it's clear that I'm not the one who's doing the, I know, I'm not trying to convince you. I know, I'm not trying to convince you.
I know.
I also see a problem with the officer stating and admitting that he doesn't know the whole story. 6, she should have to face and serve consequences for this. You can't do this and be rewarded. F that. She definitely used the system to her advantage, in my opinion. Like her own personal, like, security. You know, if you're in fear for your life, when people really, really need a TPO and a permanent one, you're not going to buy a ticket and show up at a venue when you know that your stalker is there. Yeah, it's been a lot going on, so we're just going through a little bit updates, Mary Beth. Yeah, Lauren and Amber Heard should start a theater group, right? And that's the thing is like all this has been brought on her by herself. I have no idea, Paul. Like a lot of people have like looked into her closely like that, but I mean, who's got the time? I'm going through this 9-hour stuff with you guys live because I just like who has the time to watch all that? You know, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be with you guys while watching Amber Heard and Johnny Depp's civil case. Especially because I believe over 400 times calling Christina her stalker, like that's defamation. I do agree that they've lost credibility, Jen, totally. All brought on by themselves.
No, a judge signed a piece of paper.
I know. And in Utah, you don't have to prove anything to get a paper signed, which sucks.
And the problem too, hey Alex, good to see you. The problem also, oh cool. Thanks for being in chat, Allie. Appreciate it. I just got your text. What's interesting too is we ended up looking up, like it's not just Utah where you need very little information to get a temporary protection order. Like it's many states. It's very loose. To get the permanent one takes more of evidence and it can't just be hearsay one-sided. Like in the audio from the court, the judge literally says that the police report and everything for the TPO was one-sided. You know, so they see it as it is.
Because then it's the weekend and but
so my question is, like, if this is going to be the bar they hang out at tonight, is a huge hotel. Is there another bar around?
she's gonna follow me there.
I don't think she's going to follow.
Everyone will follow me there.
And just like that cop said, you know, this is a huge hotel and bar. You know, you can go to another area. And she's, you know, saying that they're going to follow her there. Like would not shock me.
But so I that's why I made sure like I came down, there's no one here, I'm here.
And you're well within your rights.
Yeah.
But based on the way Colorado interprets those, and I haven't read it all, I'll be honest with you.
And he basically admits that he hasn't even read Colorado's like statutes about this law. And he's like, I'll be honest with you. It is scary. Like, can you imagine someone just, and this, I heard Turtle Boy talk about his TPOs that have been placed on him just from things that he writes in his blogs and articles and says on his podcast about people. They'll put a TPO on him and it takes little to nothing, but they can get him like arrested. He's out on bail, totally different situation. You know, obviously Christina's not on bail, but that's how easy it could be where someone puts a TPO on you, they show up like somewhat near you, and then all of a sudden they're like, they're here. and you get escorted out or you get arrested because you've broken it, when it's like the TPO has been placed on you, you know, right before the weekend. There's nothing you can do to fight it. She left the state. She wasn't even served it in person. Lauren and Grayson go out of their way to make sure that she gets served it in Colorado, right when they're showing up to CrimeCon after they bought the ticket after knowing Christina was going to be there. It's absolutely absurd, in my opinion.
I know it exists. If you want me to read it, I think I have a copy of it in an email or something.
Grayson is right there. She just walked past me. She ID'd me just now. I'm sorry, I'm recording you. But so I that's why I came. That's why I made sure, like, I came down. There's no one here.
And the other issue too is everyone is not on the same page in the police department. Like, they think also, judging by that email that that detective sent to everybody, that Lauren is a speaker at CrimeCon. She wasn't a speaker. So who's lying? Is it the detective, or was she lied to by Lauren and Grayson? Like, why is there this emphasis in the email to all the officers that, you know, they're the speakers and this is a scary fangirl?
To determine that was a lie.
All right, so what should we do? Let's pull up a little bit of the 9-hour, and then we will pull up some of the opening statements for the Amber Heard and just bounce back and forth. I honestly think this whole 9-hour thing is even more interesting to look back through after gaining all the information that we have through the public records and the files that Sleuthy Goosey put together.
Oh, the most vulnerable video I've ever showed here, but I do pride myself on being a very honest person. So who you know on camera is me, and that was a little bit more of me behind the scenes that I don't show, because yes, there are parts of my life that I like to keep private. So we're going to go through everything. A lot of you are maybe asking questions during that. I don't understand. I don't understand. I want to start with that because I think that you're going to understand it all a lot more as we go through everything tonight. So here we go. I'm going to start, by the way, when I say everything, not to get you guys scared, but these are all the court filings. And we got exhibits and we got evidence. So,
and knowing what we know now about her quote evidence, it's just laughable, like how serious and how hard she's trying to sell this. Like, some people actually believe that she believes that it was like legit and this is a real situation. I don't. I personally think she knows that she doesn't have a stalker and that she's just trying to salvage her reputation so badly that she's willing to manipulate and sell this as something that it's not. There honestly wasn't anything in that, to me, in all those filings and evidence that she's just held up, that was evidence that she had a stalker. Like, she was using, remember when she did that live stream with a Mormon Stories podcast, and the live chat had Christina in it with all the eye emojis, she was using that as evidence that she was being stalked. I mean, it really is laughable, like eye emojis.
Before we delve in to my first declaration, which is what got me the temporary civil stalking injunction, I'm going to set the stage and give you guys a bit of a timeline. So let's just explain a few things that matter as many of you know that are my hidden gems, I call this setting the stage. Let's set the stage before getting into all these documents. And that takes us to April of 2024. I also want to point something out. I am not going to use my stalker's name during this video. So I am going to refer to her as my stalker.
And I'm pausing it there because remember, there's rumors that maybe Christina is building a civil case against Lauren. So here we go. Somebody took the time to count how many times she referred to Lauren or to Christina as her stalker. It's over 400 times. And this whole video, I believe Christina probably has a copy of it to use legally. I mean, why else would she be recording this whole thing at CrimeCon? Like, I don't know. I find it very interesting. And also because at that point, Christina had already, Lauren had already recorded other people and been like, I feel threatened. Right? So now, like, they built their own evidence too to show, like, actually, no, I was at this bar first. I was told I could be in the bar in the hotel. Grayson and her showed up. Knowing I was down there, knowing when there's a whole bunch of other places, like the Gaylords are huge, guys. Like, I don't think, if you've never been to one, I don't think it really like explains how vast of an area, like there's so many things for them to be at and doing. Like she did not have to show up where Christina was. Hold on, let me just show you guys what a Gaylord hotel looks like. I've been to one in Maryland and I was blown away because they're just really cool looking, really unique, like architecture. And so this is like, they have them all over the US, but they're just humongous. So the whole, like, you have to stay 500 feet away. Like, that was why they told her that you could be in the bar and you can be in the hotel. You know, you're not being kicked out. And then this was where CrimeCon was being held. But of all the places to be at, Grayson and Lauren showed up where she was. And then she gets kicked out because of the law that basically says, like, it doesn't matter that you were here first.
That is what I will be dubbing her. April of 2024 is when it all begins. That is when I meet my stalker in Boise, Idaho, at the Chad Daybell trial, when she shows up for a few days attending as public. She's public. She's interested in the case she's watching. She introduces herself as a fan of my podcast, and she gifts me a cell phone microphone and a tripod. I also meet another fan of the podcast at this trial named Lori, also attending as the public. So not to be confused with Lori Daybell or Lori Hellis. This is Lori, someone attending as public named Lori. Then there is Lindsay. Lindsay is a podcast producer, and Lindsay starts doing part-time production work for me at this trial. She's quite good. She's very talented. And then there is my stalker. And my stalker also befriends Lindsay and Lori. And Lindsay, the producer that is there, starts doing part-time production work for me during this trial. And my stalker and Lori become friends with Lindsay, along with another woman named Janice. Now, a few things to know about Janice. Janice, I don't know her very well. This is our history, though. She was noticed by me in Daybell Facebook groups early on, years ago. I was in a lot of the Daybell Facebook groups it's where a lot of information is, a lot of the insider scoops. And she was quite funny. Her posts were very funny and witty. And and that I thought that at first. And then
I agree, Queen Olive. She said the way she is talking is infuriating. And this is very much how you're going to see when we get through the trial that Amber Heard talks to the jury this way. Like, she kind of talks like, I'm going to spell it out for you so that it's very crystal clear. I'm the victim, and that person there is the perpetrator. And in Amber Heard's case, she's referring to Depp. And that's like the tone and like the level of everything, the way that they're talking is just kind of like talking down in a way. I don't know. It's very like, believe me, I'm going to spell it out for you so you'll understand.
To what I consider bullying. I know everyone has a different definition of that. It's what I consider bullying. Here are a couple of them posted in groups just to kind of let you know what I saw. Here's something making fun of Colby. And here is one where she's sharing a video titled "Let's Talk About Kay Woodcock." And Kay, this video, luckily it is no longer on the web, but it defamed Kay Woodcock. And
isn't this interesting too? Like, looking back at everything that we know now, like after she tried to compare herself to Charles and JJ and Tylee and treated Crusha with disrespect and, tried to use Kay and Larry's name throughout this live stream as a way to kind of validate her stalker claims against someone. I don't know. Like, Kay has said in her own words that she never felt exploited until this live stream. And then she felt like Lauren was using Kay and Larry's name. And we're just trying to figure out why you're saying that you have a stalker, and you start off with, look at this crazy woman in this Facebook group. I'm going to show you how disgusting she is. And, you should believe me and not these people because of this Facebook post. Luckily, in this video, luckily it's not on YouTube anymore. And it's like, after hearing what you did and said about these people, this is just all too rich.
Lied about her and essentially implied that she was complicit in her grandson's murder and that she didn't do enough. It was a very cruel video. Kay is a victim in this case. Her brother and 7-year-old boy were murdered. And people are doing videos about her. And Janice liked to advertise those videos, and she was a mod in those videos, a moderator. And then again, you saw the other one where she's making fun of a dear friend of mine and another victim who lost his entire family. Okay, so that's good. So those are just a couple examples of why I didn't care for her.
So it's like, just get to why you're scared for your life and have a stalker. And it's just so funny that she's like, oh, this is why I didn't care for her. And look what they did and said. Come to find out, you weren't being very nice about these victims' families either. And that is like the definition of like, those who live in glass houses should not throw stones.
Whatever, everyone has their own opinions. She might be a really wonderful person, and I believe that Janice is a complex person, and that she's very. I don't want anyone to go and bully her if you know who she is. She's probably a very wonderful, wonderful person, but she wasn't my cup of tea. Okay, let's leave her alone. But that's my history with her. So I continue to notice these types of posts and rhetoric that Janice would use that maybe people think are funny. Again, that's fine. It wasn't my cup of tea. I told my friends privately, in private, that I thought she was a bully and that she was insensitive to victims. It was my personal opinion that I'm allowed to have. And then Janice and I officially met in person at the Lori Daybell trial in Boise, Idaho in 2023. And I attempted there to try to put our differences aside and focus on what matters, justice. And I let her know that, we might be on the different political sides of the aisle, Janice, but what we both care about is justice. And so we were friendly at the trial. Although I did notice while at that trial that she continued filming Larry and Kay Woodcock during vulnerable moments, making shorts about them that were unkind in nature.
And again, what does this have to do with you being afraid for your life and your stalker? Like, we're talking about this woman who's, whether you agree with what she's doing or not, like, okay, but get to it. How are you being attacked? Why did the detective in that email to the other Aurora police officers, why were they saying that you've been threatened and this fangirl has gone to court appearances and events like CrimeCon to stalk you? Where's all that in this? What is this, like the first 15 minutes?
And that would make most people uncomfortable.
Okay, first hour, not even. We still don't know like how you're being stalked and stuff. 41 minutes in. And even after everything, we're not buying it.
Additionally, that person you heard says that I randomly lived with her brother. That's Janice. Now, a big rumor out there is that I lived with Janice's brother, who was my doctor when I was like 29 or 30. I never have. I've never even kissed the guy. I don't know where that rumor started, but just, it's going around to several people. Lori is from California, and Lori was attending the trial because of her interest in the case. I love it when people interested in a case attend a trial. And then in a strange turn of events, my producer Grayson, this is strange, but my producer Grayson, Lori is the wife of my producer Grayson's California dentist and is someone who works in the dental office in California. But to clarify, when I met Lori, I didn't even know Grayson. This wasn't even a thing then, but wild, right? Just let's continue. So May of 2024, I am asked by a well-known public figure that I really respect if I know a good podcast producer. And I tell them, yes, I do. And I introduce this person to Lindsay. And I encourage Lindsay to connect with this person. And she seems super happy, and the two connect. And I am super happy for them. And then on June 8th, so June 8th, 2024, my stalker puts me in a group chat, which includes my stalker, Lindsay, and Lori. June 18th, 2024, my stalker is driving through my hometown, and she is asking to come visit. And so I take her kids to the neighborhood pool. July of 2024, I have now officially hired Lindsay as a producer, as an independent contractor. It's more full-time, and we have daily.
And remember in the 3.5-hour stream that Dr. John did as like a follow-up, like we respond, they're talking about how, oh, well, Christina thought that the friendship was a real friendship, but for you, it was more parasocial. And we kind of like debunked that because Lauren's telling her in text messages that she loves her and that she's sorry about calling her annoying or whatever. Something that like friends would talk about. Friends would have that type of conversation. Like it wasn't a parasocial relationship like Dr. John and Lauren tried to spin it as. And even here, she said, my stalker comes through my hometown and I take my stalker's children to the pool. Like you guys were friends. And then in the 3.5-hour live stream, you try to downplay that you were actually friends and that she's just some crazy fangirl. It's like you don't bring like some fangirl even if things didn't fall out yet, you don't bring a fangirl's children to the pool. Like, they were more than that.
The production meetings in the morning, along with John, and she is helping to produce my podcast episodes. She explains she is going to also work for this said public figure that I connected her to, and that she thinks we can pull off working for both. I tell her, okay, I am super happy that she has this upcoming gig with this public figure that is a wonderful person, and I tell her so.
Hey, looking beyond.
Lindsay and I decide to cover the Alec Baldwin trial in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And due to concerns of cost, Santa Fe ain't cheap. It's expensive. Lindsay recruits my stalker and Lori to share an Airbnb with us to help keep down the costs.
And here she is trying to like downplay their whole friendship and what it was at that moment. And maybe she was just using her to make the trip cheaper. Split it further ways at this hotel or Airbnb or whatever they rent. You know, a lot of people said Lauren's a user.
Then I tell John this, and he's reassured. I say, look, we've got a couple of trial people I met at a trial, these trial goers that are going to come with us and help keep down the cost of this larger Airbnb in Santa Fe. July 10th, 2024, in the morning of July 10th, 2024. July 10th was a big day. I'm outside of the courthouse of the Alec Baldwin trial, and I interview I interview several people that day, so I don't want anyone confused. There are 3 lives that day. I don't want anyone, but one of the many people I interview live on camera that day is my stalker. And I introduce her as a fan of my podcast, A Hidden Gem. I personally.
Thank you for becoming a member, Mary Beth. I appreciate it.
Did not think it went great for content. No harm, no foul. It happens. And then that day continues of July 10th, 2024. And at this time,
And isn't it funny how she's saying that when Christina like made an appearance, she's like, I don't think it went that great as far as content. And here she is doing this 9.5 hour stream. It's like, I don't think this went the way that you wanted it to go either. Although maybe it did because of all the views and money she made off of this. I believe it's her most viewed video.
My ex-contractor, who was my then contractor and friend. So my contractor at the time of July 10th, 2024, she is streaming the Alec Baldwin trial live on our YouTube channel for us, while I am in the media room at the courthouse covering it, and she's there. And I reach out to this ex-contractor, again, my contractor at the time, let's clarify that. I reach out to my contractor who's live streaming the Alec Baldwin trial. And I ask how things are going with the streaming. I discuss work in a text with this ex-contractor, then contractor. And I explained that I like this press room for the moment before heading to the courtroom because, and I'm going to say this verbatim, this is what my text says to her, quote, it's space from roommates. One of them is kind of annoying. This contract worker then asks if it was the one I had on a live that morning in front of the courthouse. And I explain that it was. The contract worker states back to me in a text message, not going to lie, that person is obnoxious. Don't put her on camera again, laughing face emoji. I agree. And I say she is constantly anxious, loud, and worried. End quote. A very private work conversation.
No, That's not a private work conversation. You were speaking badly about somebody. You were shit talking with another person. That's what that was. That was not a private work conversation. You were caught being mean.
In a text message. July 10th, 2025.
You were caught being mean in a text message.
That evening, the contract worker calls me and unexpectedly and angrily quits on me, and also ends our relationship for good, as in is never going to talk to me again and is going to block me. She accuses me of several things. She worked for me, but we were also very close friends. And after this phone call, I try not to, but I start crying hard. And Lori, Lindsay, and my stalker, who are my roommates in this Airbnb, they comfort me. And I am embarrassed and I keep apologizing for crying. And I am grateful for their kindness. In fact, it was a very traumatic moment for me. And I guess I can say I'm still grateful for their kindness in that moment. And that kindness that they showed me made me open up even more to them in the coming months, because they were there for me during a very traumatic moment. The end of July 2025, I hire my stalker. It was Lindsay's suggestion to do podcast episode artwork for me. She's a very talented artist, my stalker. And this continues for months. In October of 2024, I cover a trial.
Now, just for some background context. So she's making it seem like, hey, Roxanne, she's making it seem like, okay, now I've hired my stalker and my stalker is doing art for me, for my podcast, etc. It's been shown that in months and months ago, she talks about Christina and the art that she did for her. And she says that she did some of it for free for her because she was doing it for the victims in the case. So Lauren came out months ago saying that Christina did free art for her because she wanted to do it for the victims in the case. But now in the 9-hour stream, she's painting it as Christina was an employee. And like she did, of course, pay her for some of her work. But she's trying to paint it as she's building it up to make it seem like Christina's also a disgruntled ex-employee. When Christina was like donating some of her stuff to her to use for free too. So it wasn't like she was just doing this work for her or needed this job with Lauren.
Trial, as many of you know, in Delphi, Indiana, with Lindsay. And I am paying Lindsay daily to be there for me. In my opinion, I was paying her well to be there for me daily. And I'm also paying, it's an all expense paid work trip. I am paying for all of her lodging and all of her food and everything she needs to work for me. My stalker flies out to attend as public for a couple of days and pays me to stay in my Airbnb that I had. And she takes photos of me outside of the courthouse in Delphi, Indiana for my podcast. I did not pay her for these photos. It's an additional free gift for me. I buy her dinner. I confide in Lindsay, admittedly, that it is harder to work when my stalker is around. She seems kind and is very generous, but it's just a lot. And after my stalker flies home, I temporarily go home as well for Halloween because I need to trick or treat with my little boy. But I do decide that I need to go back to Delphi, Indiana. While I am gone, Grayson, who you guys now know as my producer, Grayson, takes notes for me in the courthouse while I'm gone. She does an incredible job, a hell of a job. Couldn't have done them better myself. I didn't do them as good as she did them those 2 days that I was gone. And I begin paying Grayson for freelance work, including those notes. I then, back in Delphi, I start noticing a lot of red flags. And these are red flags for me. They might not affect everyone. Some people might not think the red flags. Other people think maybe I misinterpreted them. It doesn't matter. These are red flags that affected me and concerned me and the way that I work and the way I function. One of them was that Lindsay wanted Grayson to stay in a separate Airbnb than the one I had with plenty of room. And Grayson was working for me. She was young. She was alone. And I was paying for the lodging. And that was a concern to me. I suggested maybe the Lindsay get her own hotel if she needed space, and that upset her too. I just couldn't figure this out. It was a dynamic that was hard for everyone. It's just what, and like I said, she likely had her reasons too. It's fair. But I had my reasons, and this was becoming uncomfortable for me. Another thing I learned that Lindsay did was take my phone, and without my permission, she logs into YouTube Studio and learns how much I am making that month. And she shares this with Grayson. Something else made me uncomfortable. And there were a few other things. Lindsay is also working for another creator while I am paying for her to be there working for me full time. And I'm paying all of her expenses. And she is passing off material that I had requested her to collect to other creators to be used for other shows. These were things that made me uncomfortable.
Again, what does this have to do with the stalker?
I'm not even teach their own. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. Doesn't matter. They were things that made me uncomfortable. There were other red flags for me, personal red flags. Once we are back from Delphi, I decide to terminate things with Lindsay after the Delphi trial ended. I ended things very nicely and respectfully. She's very talented. And I realized that I needed someone exclusive. Someone after experiencing what I did in Delphi with, realizing that she was a contract worker and that she was sharing and helping other creators, that, I realized that Hidden True Crime needed someone exclusive, like an exclusive producer that didn't want to work for multiple people.
And here's another takeaway I sort of am seeing from what everyone's saying too in comment sections and all that. A lot of people stopped following Lauren and Dr. John because of their Delphi coverage. And I'm wondering if this Lindsay girl didn't get the brunt of them losing subscribers, and maybe she blamed Lindsay, like, oh, well, you're working for other creators too. Like, you're the problem. You're why everything's tanking right now. When really it was her and her husband's own job that they did on the case for Delphi. Next time she says stalker, we're going to take a look at the opening statements for the defamation case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and we'll be switching back and forth between the two.
And so I told her that I was excited for her to work with this other larger podcast and this public figure. And here is a termination letter. I want you guys to see it. I want to show it so that I need people to know. And it's very small. So let me see if I can get it and read it. Okay, I can read it. I made it larger. I say, after careful and update on our working relationship. December 2nd, 2024. After careful and deliberate consideration and after reflecting upon the changing dynamics as you work for other true crime podcasts, John and I realized that it will be too difficult to navigate conflicts of interest and that we need any current or future employees we hire to work exclusively for Hidden True Crime. We had high hopes that this could work, and we love having you on board, and you have had such a positive impact upon our channel. We feel incredibly lucky that we are recipients of your work during a transitional period of career where you have had so many options in the true crime arena. We are particularly impressed with your move into such an important role working for Redacted. Yet, as we have been reflecting upon the complexities of sharing a producer, we have come to a difficult but clear realization that that in this true crime space, any producers HTC hires will need to work exclusively for Hidden True Crime to avoid issues around privacy, sharing content, and information across channels or podcasts, which greatly concerns us. As I have always stated, your desire to work with Redacted is an incredible opportunity that you should take advantage of. And we are thrilled for your exceptional talents being recognized with such a major talent. Your absence undoubtedly will create a much bigger workload for us once again, which we do not look forward to. So we know that your efforts will be sorely missed. And we know, however, that the growth and experience you'll receive will be unique and provide a rare opportunity for you. I'm proud of you for this opportunity. Go show them how amazing you are. I'm sure we will see you on the Apple podcast charts very soon, and that we hope our friendship and true crime combos can continue. And who knows, if we're lucky, maybe we'll be collaborating later together in the future once the opportunity presents itself. Always my best, Lauren. And so I later, just so you know, one other aspect of this, months and months later, I did send Lindsay a cease and desist. I had heard that she had been saying some things that I consider defamation to several of my professional contacts.
It's so funny you mentioned defamation, Lauren, because we're going to watch a whole defamation trial. And with the side note in our mind, like, does Christina have a defamation case against you?
One text that was sent to me stated that I went psycho on her and that I am manic. And other things from another.
Again, this is my opinion. I think this whole 9-hour live stream was manic.
Creator that Lindsay was saying about me. Things that were not true. I sent her that cease and desist and requested that simply she cease and desist about speaking about her time as my producer. I feel like this sets the stage for everything else to come. When my life then becomes a living hell for my entire family. So let's fast forward to April 9th, 2025, when my stalker confronts me in the Maricopa County Courthouse while I was reporting on the Lori Daybell trial. From there, I'm going to start reading my declarations. I'll add comments where needed.
All right, so she used the word stalker. Let's take a break and let's get some opening statements from Ben Chu. He's the defense attorney for Johnny Depp in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. So we'll flash back a few years and we'll get to actually study a real defamation case while we study this 9.5-hour live stream and the recent updates from Christina's video camera on her glasses that we watched earlier.
Good morning. My name is Ben Chu. My colleagues and I from Brown Rudnick are truly honored to represent the plaintiff in this case, Johnny Depp. Some of you may recognize Mr. Depp from seeing him portray characters such as Edward Scissorhands or Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. For nearly 30 years, Mr. Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood, a respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with a lie, a false statement uttered by his former wife, the defendant Amber Heard, that falsely cast.
So just think about that, a lie, a false statement. So think about being called a stalker 400 times by somebody.
Mr. Depp falsely and unfairly cast Mr. Depp as a villain, a man who would violently abuse a woman. This is a defamation case. It's a case about how devastating words can be when they are false and uttered publicly. Under the law, a person who makes a false statement about someone else can be held responsible for the harm that results from that falsehood. That's because words matter. They paint a picture in our mind based on what we have experienced and what we know, or what we think we know. And because of that, words can evoke strong emotions in the listener and cause irreparable harm to a person's reputation. And when, like Mr. Depp, your career depends upon your image and your reputation, or whether movie producers want their films associated with you, that harm can be particularly devastating.
So just right now, as far as Lauren's 9.5-hour live stream, 9-hour live stream, 439,000 views on it.
This is a case about the impact of Amber Heard's words on Johnny Depp. Specifically, the words that she used in an op-ed published in the Washington Post in December 2018, which is shown on the screens. And the op-ed was published, and this is no accident, the evidence will show, on the eve of her first major acting role in the movie Aquaman. The evidence will show that's no coincidence. The evidence will show the words that Ms. Heard used, which are the subject of Mr. Depp's defamation suit against her. And there are three statements that we respectfully ask each of you to focus on. Statement number one, quote, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath." Statement number two, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. And I want to repeat that because you're going to hear that throughout the case, because the timing here is critical. 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Statement number three, quote, "I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse," unquote. Ms. Heard did not use Mr. Depp's name in the op-ed. She didn't have to. She didn't have to because the evidence will show that everyone in Hollywood, where Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard both have their careers, and many others outside Hollywood, knew exactly what she was talking about when she used the word 2 years ago. I became a public figure representing domestic abuse. That's because, as the evidence will show, and you will hear, 2 years earlier, on May 27th, 2016, Ms. Heard had publicly accused Johnny Depp, her husband at the time, of domestic abuse. You will learn during the trial that Ms. Heard's actions were prompted by Mr. Depp's request for a divorce. He wanted out, which drove her to concoct, to make up a story that was, at first, designed to keep him. And then, when he made it clear that finally, after all he had endured, he was done, was designed to recast herself as an abuse survivor, with Mr. Depp as the alleged abuser. The evidence will show that
And isn't it interesting? Lauren is painting herself as the stalking victim, and Christina is, the stalker. And that's how she's told her whole audience of over 300,000 subscribers.
days after Mr. Depp requested a divorce, and he did so politely, and 3 days after Ms. Heard's lawyer threatened Mr. Depp with claims of abuse if he did not agree to her financial demands, Ms. Heard arrived at the courthouse in Los Angeles, California, to file for a restraining order alleging abuse. Ms. Heard, the evidence will show that Ms. Heard showed up with a mark on her face that mysteriously appeared 6 days after she last saw Mr. Depp. And 6 days before, she publicly filed a request for a domestic violence restraining order alleging abuse. The evidence will show that her publicist and the paparazzi were there at the courthouse to document the event, to make sure that Johnny Depp's name was forever associated with the image of an innocent, battered woman. It was a jolt. It was a shocking story, splashed across front pages across the country. No one had ever, in 5 decades, accused Johnny Depp of being violent with a woman. No one had ever accused Mr. Depp of being violent with a woman. He had been in other long-term relationships. He had children.
And remember, Christina has no previous criminal record. She's a mother of 4. She's not, there's nobody who that has come forward even speaking out against Christina as like a former friend or anything. Unfortunately, we have to kind of fast forward through some of these sidebars. They don't have any trial channels that skipped these. I love seeing the little like talks at the tables, like for the sidebars. But we gotta keep on trucking because we got Lauren's 9-hour live stream and this trial to get through.
No one, as I stated before,
not tonight, obviously.
No one had ever, in 5 decades, no one had ever accused Johnny Depp of being abusive of any kind with a woman. That's why it was such a jolt. He had been in other long-term relationships, as I said. He had 2 children. And no one had even suggested ever that he was capable of something like this. By choosing to lie about her husband for her own personal benefit, Amber Heard forever changed Mr. Depp's life and reputation. And you will hear him tell you the dreadful impact that it has had on his life. The evidence you will hear at this trial contradicts the story Ms. Heard presented to the world in May 2016 and again in December 2018. The evidence will show that the last time Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard saw each other before Ms. Heard showed up in court on May 27th, 2016 was May 21st. And that's a very important date. And I will ask you please to remember that through the trial. Mr. Depp's mother, Betty Sue, passed away on May 20th after a long illness when Johnny and his sister Christy had been taking care of his mother for a very long period of time. And for reasons that Mr. Depp will personally explain to you throughout the course of this trial, he had resolved to divorce Ms. Heard. So on May 21st, Mr. Depp came by the apartment that he shared with Ms. Heard in the Eastern Columbia building, or the ECB, as some people refer to it, to tell her that, to pick up his things, and to say goodbye. There is no dispute that soon after Mr. Depp ended things with Ms. Heard and left the apartment on May 21st, he got on a plane to head out on a European tour, a music tour, for months with his band, the Hollywood Vampires. And Ms. Heard knew that he was going off on tour and out of state when she walked into court to get the restraining order, which she obtained ex parte. It's a Latin word, fancy word, but all it means is that Mr. Depp and his lawyer were not there and had no opportunity to be heard. That's what an ex parte order is. You will hear from the police officers who responded to a 911 call on May 21st after Mr. Depp left. The police officers will testify that they saw no injuries on Ms. Heard. Both police officers will testify that they saw no injuries on Ms. Heard.
I'd like to also add, I believe the TPO that was placed on Christina was an ex parte as well. So the same type of hearing that they did for Amber, where she got her TPO against Johnny, like it doesn't give 2 sides. The other person doesn't get to present their side of it. Like it's just, I need a temporary protective order. This is why. It can even be hearsay. And then you get one temporarily, which is what Lauren did to Christina a day before flying to CrimeCon, knowing Christina was going to be there, and then emailing the cops as well. Hey, Shmita, good to see you.
Nor did the police officers see any of the property damages that you will hear Ms. Heard claims existed in the apartments that evening. And you will hear those officers under oath testify that there was no violence and that there was no crime. You will also hear from multiple witnesses who, like the police officers, saw Ms. Heard between May 21 and May 26. Those are the crucial days between the alleged incident and the day she walked into court with her lawyer and got an ex parte order. And those witnesses will testify that they saw her without any marks, any signs of injury on her face. And you will hear from multiple witnesses, including Brandon Patterson, who is the manager of the Eastern Columbia building, where Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard lived together. You will hear Mr. Patterson say that he saw, and others will say as well, that they saw a surveillance video from the week of May 21st that showed Ms. Heard's sister, Whitney, throw a fake punch at Ms. Heard's face. But let's just stop there. This is a surveillance video you will hear about where the sister of the alleged victim threw a fake punch at her sister, which allegedly occurred, this incident, only a couple of days earlier. Ms. Heard acting out being punched, responding to the fake punch, and the two laughing about it. So you have the alleged victim and the sister laughing about a fake punch. And you will have to decide for yourself, or we ask that you please decide for yourself. Would anyone ever joke about that if there had been actual abuse? Much less ask yourself, would a sister ever joke with an alleged victim about being punched by her husband?
So isn't it interesting that Ben Chu's talking about something that surfaced about, Amber Heard, a video of her and her sister playing around, pretending that she gets punched, etc. And Ben is raising the question, like, if this was a serious matter, why are they making a joke out of it? Obviously he feels that it was all fabricated. And the same thing kind of as arose in Lauren's situation when the clip of her and her husband are joking around like, I'd like to thank my stalker for being on our Patreon and paying for the membership. Hi stalker. And it's like, you're laughing about knowing that your stalker is on, quote unquote stalker, is on your Patreon paying as a member. Like if that was really your stalker, like this wouldn't be a joking matter.
Of course, none of this contradicting evidence was publicly available when Ms. Heard walked into court on May 27th and got her restraining order. Instead, as you can imagine, the media storm was instantaneous. You will hear about and see some of that media coverage, which published pictures of Ms. Heard walking into court and other pictures supposedly showing injuries supposedly caused by Mr. Depp, a man who had never been accused of abuse of a woman. The evidence will show that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard eventually settled their divorce out of court. Thereafter, Ms. Heard dismissed her restraining order against Mr. Depp. But Ms. Heard's false claim that Mr. Depp had abused her remained in the public sphere. It didn't go away. The images were permanent. And the evidence will show that 2 years later, which is why we're pointing to that reference in the op-ed, in the wake of the Me Too movement, and just before the release of Ms. Heard's role in the movie Aquaman, Ms. Heard chose to remind the world about the festering allegations, this time under the banner of a international newspaper, the Washington Post. In her op-ed, Ms. Heard again painted herself as the innocent victim of abuse, but this time with a wider audience primed to take action against industry powerhouses accused of abuse. The evidence will show that the clear implication in Ms. Heard's op-ed that you have in front of you was that she was the victim of domestic abuse perpetrated by Mr. Depp. The evidence will show that that was a lie, and it remains a lie when it was repeated and republished 2 years later. Hollywood studios don't want to deal with the public backlash from hiring someone accused of abuse, even someone with the incredible body of work and record that Mr. Depp can be proud of. A false allegation can devastate a career, and it can devastate a family. And the evidence will show that Ms. Heard's false allegations had a significant impact on Mr. Depp's family and his ability to work in the profession he loved and loved to bring joy to everyone. Ultimately, this trial is about clearing Mr. Depp's name of a terrible and false allegation. We ask you in the next several weeks to please carefully consider the evidence, assess the reliability and credibility of that evidence, and to make your own determination about what actually happened between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. And to tell you more about that, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Camille Vasquez, who you had the pleasure of meeting yesterday.
So that was Ben Chu's opening statement. Kind of gave you a little outline of what defamation is, why they feel like Amber Heard committed that against Johnny.
I later, just so you
Does Christina have a defamation case against Lauren?
know, one other aspect of this, months and months later, I did send Lindsay a cease and desist. I had heard that she had been saying some things that I consider defamation to several of my ex-friends are releasing everything. And it is horrible what they are sharing. And I cannot believe what you said about me. I knew what I had said about her. I told all of you at the beginning of this, I called her annoying. And I knew exactly what it was and what she was saying. And I wanted to face it head on and own it and apologize. I don't like hurting people. And I want to be honest with things. That's who I am. And so I said, let's talk. Let's talk. And she's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to. And I said, you know what?
I personally don't think Lauren's an honest person. Like she tries to proclaim that over and over.
Please allow me to talk with you right here about it. I called you annoying, and I'm sorry. I didn't know you well then. And I told her essentially that I felt like perhaps at that time that she was further along in the friendship than I was. Maybe she thought we were closer than I felt at that time, that I was still getting to know her, and that it was difficult sometimes to work around her. And because I felt like she was annoying sometimes while I tried to work. And I didn't record it, she did, but this is what I recall. And that I was sorry. And I felt really bad, and I knew her better. And I felt terrible that I'd hurt her that way. I was also completely taken back by the fact that a bunch of my private text messages were being released. Scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what that meant. 6 years of messages. And this woman saying to me, they're horrible. They're terrible. Your friends are horrible. They're cruel. I can't believe what they said. I can't believe what you said. She brought up poisonous donuts, Lauren, poisonous donuts in Delphi. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you don't know what I'm talking about? Something about poisonous donuts? This is what I recall again. She's the one that recorded, not me. So, you know. You know what I'm talking about? Liz sent it to you. You sent it to Liz? I'm like, who's Liz? Who's Liz? What are these poisonous donuts? You know, Liz. You don't know who Liz is? No, I don't know who Liz is. Who's Liz? You said, Lauren, that somebody sent you, that somebody in Delphi tried to bring you poisonous donuts, and people were there and they were trying to be kind to you. And I'm still like, I don't get what she's talking about. By the way, I learned later, and both those stories are true. People in the Delphi trial brought me donuts and it was kind. And then there was another time when there were a couple of YouTubers, Susan Hendricks, because we talked about it actually in a live, where they brought, they were banned from the courtroom and they brought donuts and everyone screamed, said, don't take them, they're poisonous. And that was the story I allegedly shared with Liz. I didn't know who Liz was. She kept trying to press me, who's Liz? Who's Liz? And I said, oh, Liz. Remembered who Liz was. We concluded the conversation. I felt on a good note. I profusely apologized. I told her I was sorry for what I had said, and for what many of the things perhaps that I had said to those ex-friends. of mine. And then, so let me continue. Let me continue. So the text about the stalker stated that she was annoying. I apologized for hurting her feelings. So I'm going back to the declaration now. And I even followed up with text messages taking accountability. Exhibit the apology. Let's show that. Do you have that apology? Okay. We'll wait for this. I said, I love you and I'm sorry. Thank you for talking to me. I have a lot to process about myself and my actions. She thanked me for being vulnerable and vulnerable about myself. I said, everything I love about you is real and sincere.
Everything I love about you is real and sincere. Again, in the follow-up video that Dr. John did, they try to paint it as, and she actually just said it too, that she felt Christina was further along in their friendship than she was. It's like, you're telling her you love her though. Like, you're making it seem like this is a very heartfelt like apology and you feel awful and all this stuff. It's like, obviously the friendship seemed to be both ways. But then after everything's said and done and you're trying to discredit her and call her your stalker and your fangirl, you guys try to say that this was a parasocial relationship, but Christina thought it was a friendship. Like, if my friend is apologizing, if somebody I know is apologizing to me and they're saying things like, I love you and stuff, like, I'm thinking we're friends. Everything I love about you is real.
Everything I judged you for before I gave you a chance, I was wrong. Unfortunately, you can't erase words and they hurt. I'll forever regret the things I said and thought. But the truth is, I defend you to the moon and back forever, and I do. But I realize it will take a long time to earn your trust if I ever earn it again. And if I don't, I understand. I was so wrong. But I know that no matter where our paths lead in life, I know I'll forever defend you and call you a dear friend with the biggest heart I know. I'd do anything for you if you ever need me. And then, oddly, and then we'll talk about some other stuff after that. We'll talk about this in Grayson's declaration. But I also did leave court early that day because I had a panic attack about private texts of mine perhaps being released because people were angry at me. It was a very frightening thought.
Frightening
but we'll get into
thought.
that later. We'll continue with
I was afraid that my private texts were going to be shared. So your reputation was on the line and you're calling it a frightening thought. Like, what are you saying in your private text messages?
my declaration, the first one. Later that night,
Oh, that's right.
I
You were
received a
talking
threatening voicemail from
you were talking badly about Kresha and the Vallow family in your text messages. That's right.
someone named Liz. She brought up the fact that I had said that I didn't know who she was, which was something that I told my stalker during our conversation. And so now I'm realizing, oh my gosh, she recorded me. Take a listen.
No, looking beyond. I haven't seen that they got the dispatch audio or the call or whatever you call it. People are filing for the Freedom of Information Acts for everything from CrimeCon. But the only things that have come out is the stuff that we already went through from Sleuthy Goosey's files, which was all Lauren's exhibits and the body cams. And then Christina's videos that she recorded with her camera on her glasses, her meta glasses. Hey, Ara, it's good to see you. But guys, I can only handle so much of Lauren. So I think since we watched a little bit of Ben Chu's opening statements talking about the defamation trial, that was a good introduction to our discussion and developments in Lauren's situation. Christina's videos that are going around pretty much showing that she's at the bar first after being told she was okay to be in the hotel and bar. Lauren and Grayson show up to where she is, moving closer and closer to where Christina is and getting Christina kicked out because of this temporary restraining order. I mean, it's crazy to think that a detective was emailing the Aurora Police Department stating that, she'd been stalked by this person before at events like CrimeCon, and that Lauren is a speaker and all this stuff. It's very alarming. Amber Heard thought she could act for all the jury. Turns out she couldn't act at all, even in the movies. Right, exactly. I can't wait to see her testimonies again. It's going to be funny. And I feel like a lot of people see through Lauren's act as well, just like the jury did. So, whatever develops between now and next Saturday should be interesting. Will there be more videos that Christina recorded with her glasses? Will there be more developments or just more rumors between a civil suit against Lauren from Christina calling her a stalker? We will have to wait and see. This 9-hour live stream, we are only an hour in. Now we're going to watch Lauren paint all this quote unquote evidence as, significant real evidence of a stalker. And we're going to come out the other end and see where we're at, as well as study the civil case of defamation again with new eyes and new insight of Johnny and Amber Heard Saturday night trial rewatch. So thanks for being here, guys. We did an hour and a half. We've got a long way to go. And yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Saturday nights is just going to be a laid back live stream. Friday and Sunday nights are the more heavy true crime discussions. Tomorrow night we'll be digging into our Chris Watts discussion like we usually do on Sundays. And then I will see you again next weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 8 o'clock. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you to all my moderators. You guys are awesome. Adrian, thank you so much for the PayPal you sent. Thanks everyone who bought a membership, who gifted a membership, anyone who just hit the like button. There's also an option that you can hype a stream. So if you guys could give the stream even a hype, that is awesome too. It helps the channel a lot and it's free. Melly, good to see you. Appreciate you sending me the Idaho 4 stuff. I really, really, really appreciate all my mods and supporters for real, guys. So let's hang out here next Saturday night for the trial rewatch. After we get through Johnny Depp trial, we've decided to rewatch Karen Reed trial 1. So there still has not been justice for Officer John O'Keefe. So after Johnny Depp, we'll be jumping into Karen Reed trial 1. So join me again for True Crime Talk Friday night and Saturday and Sunday. I'll see you guys next weekend. My outro is like being weird. Let me see if I can pull it up, but it wouldn't let me pull up the file. I can't pull it up. So it's just going to be an awkward out. So bye, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. And I will see you guys next weekend. So bye.